Hey everyone, it's Mr. Miles. I'm just going to give you a quick video for this week. Since I'm not going to be here, I'm going to kind of give you the lay of the land in terms of what to expect and what to do. So, starting off, just make sure that Monday you turn in your comic strip over the story that you picked from Friday of last week, which was either Thor and the Clay Giant or the Quest for the Giant Cauldron of Aegir. Okay, so you pick one of those stories, did the comic strip on it. So make sure you turn that into the basket. Um, this week, you're going to finish up your Norse packets. Okay. Today, Monday, you're actually not going to be reading from your packet. You should be getting a handout, and I'll post a digital version on Google Classroom as well of this. Okay. So before we start talking about Ragnarok, I wanted to take a day to spend a little time talking about the Norse afterlife, what to expect when you died, because we kind of know about Valhalla. We don't really know much else, right? Like we know if you die in battle, you go to Valhalla. If you die of old age or sickness, you go to hell. But what's the real vibes behind Valhalla? Okay, and so all the information that we essentially know from the Prose Edda, which is our main source for all this stuff, is right here for you to kind of explain what Valhalla is like. So read that and then answer the questions on the worksheet that you'll get and turn those in by the end of class, okay, on Valhalla. Um, on Tuesday, you are going to read two things. So this is Tuesday and Wednesday going to be the sections where we talk about Ragnarok, okay? And I'll make another video that I'll post where I kind of go into detail about what Ragnarok is, what happens in Ragnarok. Doesn't substitute for doing the reading, but it is a nice little kind of supplement to help you know what happens. So Tuesday, if I can turn to it, you're going to read in here the death of Balder, okay? Chapter 13. Now, that's a very short chapter. It is a very important story, however. So you're going to read the death of Balder, answer that question in your study guide, and then you are going to get a handout of a excerpt from a very good book called Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology. And if you are fascinated by the Norse mythology stuff that we have talked about in this class, Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology goes into a little bit more detail than this packet that I gave you. And it's a really great resource for you. So this is an excerpt from the chapter where we get more information about what happens to Loki. Okay. Because Loki essentially causes the death of Balder, and the death of Balder essentially kicks off Ragnarok. Okay, so what happens to Loki? Does Loki get what's coming to him? Well, this story explains that for us, and also does a decent job at making Loki, if not sympathetic, you can at least understand why he might be mad at the gods, right? So you're going to read this story. That again, there's a PDF version on Google Classroom, but I'll also print out the handout so you can have and you can read it on your own there. So you're going to read chapter 13 and the last days of Loki. And those are going to basically make up on your study guide. It's chapter 13 and 13.5. Okay. And so that's what you're going to do for Tuesday. Wednesday, you are going to read the last chapter in your Norse packet, chapter 14, The Twilight of the Gods, which actually talks about Ragnarok in detail. And then you are going to do another excerpt from the Prose Edda. This is the text, literally just straight from the Prose Edda, okay? And you are going to kind of look at the actual poem. You're going to read it, and you're going to kind of look closely at it and tell me, what's going on with it. And then answer these two questions here. Do you see any potential Christian influences that were included in the transmission of this poem? Because remember, the person who wrote down all this stuff, the Prose Edda, is a guy named Snorri. He was a monk, writing 200 years after basically all of Scandinavia had been converted to Christianity. So, what Christian influences is he bringing into the text? Okay, that you might notice. Okay, and then How would the Norse, knowing the world was going to end, knowing that everyone was going to die, knowing the whole world was going to just burst into this giant catastrophe, how could you possibly, if you were a Norse person who believed in this in the 800s, 900s AD, how would you find comfort? How did the Norse people, based off your reading, how did they find any sort of comfort or solace in the fact knowing that the world was going to end? Okay, and so those are the questions that you are going to answer, and then you'll turn this in at the end of the day. Okay, so chapter 14, and then that excerpt from the Prose Edda. Okay, and then the last thing that's going to take you through the end of the week is your. That's not it. Rewrite Ragnarok or interview in Einarjar. Okay, assignment. So essentially, you have an option of one of these two projects. Okay, and you're going to work on your project of choice for the rest of the week. Now, you can obviously see that Friday, if we have time, we'll start Thor Ragnarok. Thursday is purely working on your project, and then those of you who need to finish up on Friday, you can finish up on Friday while watching the movie. Just make sure the projects are turned in on Friday, okay? And I'll post a video that kind of goes into the actual project itself a little more in depth. But that's essentially the lay of the land for the week. If you have any questions or anything, I respond quickly to remind, more so than email. So shoot me a remind, and I'll be happy to answer any specific questions you have. Have a good day.